a number of MPs in the majority side decided that Ken must go.
Yes.
They were very vocal. In the long run, was Ken able to go? Ken stayed put. And even when he was reshuffled, he gave him even a far advanced appointment. So there's an internal minister for finance, and there's an external one whose main specialty is for loans. You see, so it is always so. People are complaining there are too many ministers in this administration. But when it comes to even at the committee level, it's like two warring factions who are ready to press the trigger. Why for? They have been whipped. The president has appointed the person. You have no reason to refuse or reject the person. So the voting becomes like that by majority decision. It comes to the preliminary. At the preliminary too, it becomes a problem. But outside that, they start murmuring and complaining. You have been hearing some of them. So you ask yourself, what is this kind of business that you cannot stand firmly? Just at injury time appointments, to places where you know that revenue mobilization is on daily basis. Is it because you want people to get money to go and contest and win elections in areas where you know that the NDC has very strong candidates to retain the seats? So you see, this funny game even threatens and undermines the democracy that we are experiencing. If you recall yesterday when I got up, I was full of emotions.
Yes.
People don't know how this democracy has come to stop all military coups. And it is our responsibility, binding duty, to ensure that democracy prevails. A democratic government is better than a military regime. The ingredients that brought about some of these things until the 31st December 1981, when the late President J.J. Rawlings announced that this should be the end of all coups. We've gone through 32 years now. We should not bring back those things. But what are we seeing today? If we take Achampon's regime, no, not Achampon, Kotoka, Afrifa, and others, the first coup, they accused President Nkrumah of corruption. And so many ills. But were they able to prosecute Kwame Nkrumah? Can you point out anything? Kwame Nkrumah was hanged when he was helping the country to develop. When those people came, even General Anka, you remember that General Anka was accused by his own colleagues of corruption, and that was the basis for removing him. Then the 24th February man, you know him, General Champon, also came in. What didn't they say about him? Those things, accusations, they are consistent in all military takeovers. And even he went further to say that even the few amenities being enjoyed by the military have been taken from them. You know the few amenities. He mentioned their ration. Ration is a very important thing for soldiers who go on 24 guard duties and have no opportunity of going home. So there's a central cooking point and they go around to serve them. Then the Operation Guitar Boys also came during Kotoka and others their time, SB Atta. I'm taking you a little bit back.
Okay.
And they also tried. Achampong, he left. General Kufu came, the same accusation. Then President Rawlings came. And since then, I have not seen the worst form of corruption than in the current administration.
Does that mean we have not learned lessons?
Surely so. We have taken the silence of Ghanaians for granted. And I recall that President Nkrumah said that it's not that Ghanaian is timid for people to think that they cannot react. He was telling the British. But the Ghanaian is intelligent because we have a system of governance. So if you are not ruling properly, they kick you out. We have seen NDC leaving and Rawlings handing over power peacefully to President Kufuor. President Kufuor leaving and handing over peacefully to President Mills. Then President Mahama, when he won the 2012, Yempene will go to court. For almost 2 years, even though he was head of state, which donor country would have supported him to run the country? But even then, within the space of less than 3 years, or let's say less than 4 years, you can see the visible signs of projects that he has developed. Again, they say he was corrupt. 8 years almost down the line, you can't pinpoint the level of corruption. You have gone round and even some of his ministers and so on. But he, in his lifetime, as president, when even people said, oh, if I should get $1 million, I will stop politics. He said, is that what you have come to do? Then leave my government. Abu Gapele was my student in Navasco. He was a very good sportsman, and I was the sports master. And a friend of President Mahama. Was he not tried? What about the bus branding that they were shouting here and there? Was Jifa Ativo not removed? Have you seen any action being done? And don't we have worst case scenario under this administration? Money under beds? Not ordinary cedis, but foreign currency. Even today, it looks like the case is dead.
Is there a risk, high risk, of we returning to those days? Because if all those governments were toppled because of these allegations and accusations of corruption, why should this be different just because it's a democracy?
No. Let me tell you, that's why I said the Ghanaian is patient. Look at the system of recruitment into the security services and other public organizations or institutions, both public and civil service. It's too partisan. In every organization, it's no more Ghana first. As at now, those that they have consciously recruited are given higher appointments so that for the next generation, let's say in the top hierarchy or officer corps, they are people in all sectors. So when you start sensing this, I'm not a kid for them to come and say that this one, it is on merit. What kind of merit? If you want to recruit people, as per the rules you advertise in the media. You designate centers where people can report. A board is constituted to conduct those things. And that goes on. In the case of appointment, everybody, let me take the security services. I can join the prisons or any organization with you. We are promoted, we go together. You understand? But to get to the top, it's like a bottle. So we understand that amongst us, all of us cannot be at the top. But amongst us, one person will rise to the top. Nobody complains about that. But if you are ahead of me, and I am 3 steps behind you, so it means I'm in the 4th category. That's when we are. And I have in the 4th category, I have my intake mates. Then, ahead of me, you and others, you have your intake mates. And they move me from that position to come and be the head of that institution. In the military, it means that all those ahead of me will have to be retired. Do you get the point? We have had situations like that. But let me tell you, General Ankwa also, the one who was President Kufuor's ADC. Yeah, General Ankwa. Didn't he get all his top promotions from President Mahama? That is how the service is supposed to operate. You don't job people. Currently, there are police officer cadets who, through the police system, qualified to go to police college, to be trained as officer cadets, and promoted to become assistant superintendent of police, or depending on whatever grade that they have come into the service. After this thing has been done, then the minister, the current minister for the interior, his maiden visit to the police headquarters, addressing the police, including the IGP, that yes, you have done this type of officer cadets, but we will also come with a protocol list of people. And now they have taken 500 people. Meanwhile, that portal for officer cadet has closed. So these people who are coming, assuming they pass through the system, what is the respect they will give to the IGP and the police hierarchy? It means we are party people, we have been given protocol, and we are ASPs. And these people, too, even though they are ASP, there will be a way of their promotion being stagnated and getting these people to go up. That is not how we run an institution of state. And I am not happy with this kind of trend. It's not only in the police service, it's across all the security services and in the civil institutions. But you see, in formulating the Constitution, you before this was promulgated, you know what happened? The very people who are now saying that the Constitution gives them the power were the people who refused to go to the Constituent Assembly, that they cannot go and sit down with Mokola women and trotro drivers and so on to make a constitution. Is it a trotro driver? Anyway, the vice president said he's a driver mate. Mate. So maybe that's in quotes. A trotro driver is not the president and the mate is the vice. But seriously speaking, Have you seen people of such categories being elected as president, vice president, ministers, members of parliament? A few may come in because maybe their parents sponsored them and so on, and they got good education and so forth. So, because they don't want to consult, I'll give you another example. You heard of the Senchi Accord. Yes. That Professor Mills decided that because of the dire state of the economy, there should be a national forum to come out with a policy on the economy of the nation. Very beautiful, this thing. Civil organizations, everybody, including the NPP. But a letter from their party headquarters said nobody should go. It was only Mr. Kwame Pieni who said, no, he's an economist. We need it for the development of the country, not because it is NDC who mooted the idea. Did they attend? Critical issues that should be discussed, they refuse to attend. When you have a problem that people see that the problem you have requires broader consultation, it becomes a problem. And I get worried that there are institutions of state like the Peace Council. Under President Mohammed's period, he could say Nyansafo mu. When now, how the petrol price then and now, they are not the same. The dollar rate is not the same. Cost of living is going high. And then Nyansafo no Omako Dada. Where are his dogs now? Does it mean that because the fat envelopes that are now coming to him, the dogs have gone to sleep? If you are a man of God, you must be a man of integrity.
Now he sends text messages to remind the president of things that...
No, he should come out, text messages, how many people will read them? You are sending it personally to the president. Come out the way you were bold to talk about Nyansafo Mowahin, so that we know that you are a true man of God. I appreciate the fact that some members of the clergy have lived up to their calling and have said, no, this is our country. There's no Ghana anywhere. Take time what you are doing. Where are the Nyansafo people? Where in any jurisdiction? Like the football match we played yesterday. Assuming there was a protest, you know the processes they will follow through. The disciplinary committee, when constituted, we want to read the match commissioner's report. We want to read the referee's report. We want to read the petitioner's report. All these people will appear and give evidence. Our elections that we protested, the Jemensa appear in the dock. What type of judicial system are we? So I'm giving you all these examples to tell you that is why people are afraid that our democracy is being threatened. And to make it worse, for you who received all the support to be made president peacefully, you come out to say that not under your watch will you hand over if President Mahama should win the coming elections. You are setting the tone for political violence. And I was surprised to read this morning that the Minister for the Interior is talking about people who make inflammatory remarks, they will be dealt with. Then he should go and arrest the president. That is it. He should go and arrest him. He should go. If he cannot, he should tell him that, Mr. President, that is not how we took over this country from the others. Let us go to the elections. If we win, we have won. And I'm using this one to sound warning to Jane Mensah that she should look at her predecessors. Those appointed by President Rawlings, when we lost, they declared the results that NDC have lost. Even Charlotte Osei declared the results that NDC have lost. Jane Mensah, she, Bosma Asare, and others who were put there and have displayed partisan politics in that institution which is supposed to be neutral. They should be very careful.
Talking about security recruitment, the IGP now has a deputy, COP Tete Yohuno, appointed by the president just yesterday as deputy IGP in charge of operations. What do you make of that?
Well, for me, the COP Yohuno definitely, even when he was commissioner of police, was the most senior commissioner of police. And he has worked and worked very well. I have nothing against his appointment or promotion. It is in order. Even from that level, he could have been the IGP. But you are bringing me back to this leak tape issue, COP Mensah. You see, that COP Mensah wanted to jump everybody to be an IGP. It was because of that wrongful way of doing things that brought about it. So me, I have no problem with that appointment. It's in the right direction that the most senior should definitely be recognized and appointed. But you see, my very good friend Kofi Boachi, in fact, the two of us had the same fate. And I remember once he said, look, senior, you are my mentor. The way you are being treated in the prisons and you have the courage to continue, I'm also learning from you. You know, at the time, Kofi Boachi was a very fantastic man. But he was denied because of all these things. He was doing his professional police duties. When we were growing, I grew up in the barracks. My father was a soldier. At the end of his service, he was enlisted in the police service. So I was at police depot, and it was there that he died, you see. Barracks life, those days, was one of what? Comradeship, esprit de corps.
Not anymore.
Now it cannot be. It cannot. Even I'm sure the messes people are afraid to go to sit in the mess and drink and chat freely, which is supposed to be a privileged area where your commander will come and you, a young officer, can go and sit by the commander and then ask him certain questions, maybe things that you feel he has not handled them properly, and listen to his explanation. That is how officer corps is developed. So for me, I think that so many things have gone wrong. They have threatened our democracy, and we must be mindful about that.
Now, before you go on, let me take you to the National Reconciliation Commission.
Yes.
You were there, and that's because of the work you were doing as a prisons officer.
Yes.
Take us through that, and then, of course, in relation to how you feel now our democracy is under threat.
Yes, that is a very interesting question. Throughout my life or career in the prison service, I can say that I started the operational sector. One SM Alasan started, but his was brief, very brief, and he left. And it all started during the AFRC era. So after he left, I had to take over. And my duties included the handling of high-risk prisoners. And those days we had AFRC convicts made up of these people who served in General Champon's government and so on and so forth. And then along the line, the 31st December revolution took place. And prior to that, quite a number of soldiers had been arrested and detained. So it was my duty, especially during festive occasions, to ensure that the security was tight. And alongside that job, I was the director of sports. So I had an arrangement with the headquarters hierarchy, the prison hierarchy, that because they give them full release, the sportsmen and women full release to train for their sporting competitions, I will suggest that during festive occasions, when we don't have competitions, they give me the responsibility to deploy them to all the prison locations in Accra and in Sawam. So when the first batch of those who attempted the coup before the 31st December revolution were arrested, they were soldiers from Tubi and Apramdu, in Apramdu Secondary Takoradi there, and brought to Nsawam. So on my rounds, I was informed that they had brought people. And indeed, those people were highly bruised. And the instruction was that they should not be granted medical treatment because they could escape. Meanwhile, the people have been put in condemned cells. So I asked the officer in charge, the late Abbey, that how can people escape when you have put them in the condemned cells? The people are bleeding, some very close to their eyes. So why? The infirmary, the walls are well fortified, maybe taking them in batches for treatment will not be a problem. He said, look, he is carrying the instruction. If I feel, now that I have come, I can do that, I should go ahead. So I went to the condemned cells and met them and told them that, gentlemen, the instructions that they gave to the commanding officer here, he's afraid to violate them. But I want to take the risk. And in doing so, I want you to give me a promise that you will not do any funny thing. You see that I have my men, they are fully armed. I don't want us to go into nasty situation. Oh, master, we won't do anything. We'll cooperate. So I said, fine. I will start by taking you to the infirmary in batches of 2. So we went, he came back, we came back. Then I realized that we could increase the numbers, and we brought them. Then 31st struck. And if you recall, maybe you have to go to GBC and ask for the tape. President Rawlings was asking us to release all military personnel.
After the coup?
After the coup, including a father and flying officer Odwe. But they were there earlier. So I had to go to my boss. May his soul rest in perfect peace. Mr. Kwagezi. What do we do? That we should hold on. Because nobody was sure about the success of the coup. So around 4 p.m., I went to him again. They said if you could go to Burma camp to receive the release authority, then you can go. So I said, well, I cannot go and sleep in my house and not even being able to close my eyes, and then they will come and arrest me. So I went And I was asked to come the next day. Then that thing went with a helicopter, brought them, and we came, and the headquarters was set, and so on and so forth. Now,
You released from the action. You released all of them, including your father Tenko.
yes. So with time, I was withdrawn from Gonda Barracks and appointed the commandant of our training school. It was a tug of war between the late Kwashiga, Major Kwashiga, and the prison's headquarters. So I had to prevail upon him that because of my career development, it would be better I should take up that appointment. And anytime they needed me, I could come. They said, no, you can't be there and be effective here also. So they released me. The one they asked him to come and take over from me, they said they didn't want anybody from the prison service. If they won't let me work, they won't get anybody. So after some time, I had to go to the Junior Staff College, Ghana Armed Forces, came back, and then I went to the Senior Staff College, and that was when we were having problems at Osherford.
What happened there?
Captain Koda, who is now with the government, and his group, they broke jail. They broke jail some time ago, and rampant jailbreaks were occurring in Osherford. And each time there was a jailbreak, the top hierarchy of the service, they were dismissed. So, on completion, normally they should have told me where I will be posted. My boss was scared to tell me because people were resigning. I'm sending you to Osherford, I said, then I'm leaving the service. So they decided to put me on trial. So one of the directors, a lady, Mrs. Parry, may her soul rest in perfect peace, met me around Tema roundabout. I was going to watch a football match. And I went and greeted her. She said, hey, Baba, do you know what is happening? They are sending you to the place where they dismiss people. So I asked her, where do they dismiss people? That Osherford. I said, oh, Madam, is that so? There are two things so. They have been dismissing people, that's one. The other one is that if God says that's where I'll make my career to blossom, I will go. So on Monday, I went with my colleague to the headquarters, one Ben Kui, Director of Prisons Ben Kui. The Director General could tell him where he was sending him, that's Koforidua. For me, he was evasive. So I said, sir, if I've told my colleague, what about me? They are making the journal for the intake. So everybody should know where his mate is going to serve so that we continue. Then he rolled his chair backwards and mentioned Osherford. I heard him clearly.
Without looking at you.
Yes, but me, I also pretended that I haven't heard him. Then he said, I'm sending you to Osherford. He gathered some courage. So I asked him, sir, is that the reason why you couldn't tell me? Well, if you have found me suitable, I'm a junior rank, not qualified to hold that appointment. It was for assistant directors, and I was a chief superintendent, one step below, that I should go there. No problem. I will go. But people who were my mates that were sent there and they refused, they said, give me the promotion and I'll take the appointment. But I didn't give any condition. I went. And truly, it was a hell of time. You can't sleep. I'll be patrolling Osherford, Kolebu, Police Hospital, 37 Hospital. Just when I'm going to sleep, then like a voice will ask, are you going to sleep?
Extraordinary radio for discerning listeners. Starr 103.5 FM.
That's right, Starr 103.5 FM. You're still listening to The Morning Star. It's 3 minutes gone past 9 a.m. And you've just heard the second part of that interview between BT Baba and Ibrahim Al-Hassan. BT Baba was formerly Deputy Director of Prison Services, and he is the current Member of Parliament for the Talensi constituency. Of course, he sat down with my colleague and parliamentary correspondent Ibrahim Al-Hassan, and they spoke on a wide range of issues. Very intriguing interview they had there. We'll take a short break here, and we'll definitely bring you the part 3 of this interview subsequently here on Starr 103.5 FM. But stay tuned. When we return, we'll get into our random conversation. And I asked a question earlier about internet data. It's expensive, isn't it? There have been a lot of complaints across many social media platforms in the last 2 days or so about the high cost of data, about how difficult it is to even find money to buy data, and about how a particular telco has been designated an SMP, and because of that, some sort of, we don't know whether to call it sanctions or whatever. I don't think they are sanctions, but it's been done in such a way that they cannot have the lowest prices of internet data on the market, even though a majority of people use that particular network. And this has been a conversation which has been rife on social media about generally the poor quality of internet connectivity and the high cost of data that we have here in this country. So we want to ask you, what is your current data situation when it comes to your internet connectivity, when it comes to buying data? How do you go about it? Some people buy 3 CDs, and before they realize it has accumulated to about 200 CDs. If they had just bought the 200 CDs at a go, perhaps it would have been better. There are some who can't also afford, and so they do 2 CDs or 1 CD. And there are those who can afford up to about 100 CDs, but it doesn't give them enough. When you go to other jurisdictions like Nigeria, the internet data which they are getting for 100 CDs, we are getting for far less, or should I say the number of gigabytes of data they are getting for 100 CDs, we are getting for far less. We are getting far less, internet data or gigabytes of data than that. A whole lot of conversations on social media. So we want to talk about it here on the show today. And that will be for our random conversation. We'll definitely activate the phone lines. Give us a call. Let us know what your thoughts are. Let us know what your data situation is. Let us know what you want to see being done. The NCA responded to some of the issues that were raised by a lot of people on social media, saying that, yes, MTN has been designated an SMP, but, relatively, our internet data charges here in this part of the world are less expensive comparatively to other places. Very interesting stuff. We'll talk about all of this here on the Morning Star, like I mentioned, when we return. Stay tuned.
It's portable, disposable, and always on hand when you need it. Flora disposable handkerchief fits in your pocket or bag, and it's always ready to come to the rescue. Sweat? No problem. Coughs and